Content de vous avoir avec nous. J'espère que vous avez trouvé ça intéressant. So thanks a whole lot for being here. We really appreciate having you with us. My name is Écoscience. I'm the one who I'm an assistant researcher for l'unité de recherche Écoscience 21, and we're the people who are organizing this Café Écoscience and the other ones that have been organized. Diane est la personne, she's the one who's in charge of the research unit, organizing the
Bonjour tout le monde.
Café Écoscience. Donc sans plus tarder, I'll leave Brad Moore
Peut-être si on peut laisser la porte ouverte, je pense qu'il y a des gens qui vont s'en venir.
Ouais. Let Brad Moore start the discussion.
Il y a des places ici.
So, take us away.
Très bien. Bonjour.
Bonjour. Thank you very much for allowing me to come here today and speak to you about environmental issues, nuclear, and ACL and CAN-DO. My name is Brad Moore. I work for Atomic Energy of Canada at our Sheridan Park offices in Mississauga. I work in communications and I manage the Speakers Bureau that we travel all over the world talking about nuclear and talking about other issues throughout this world. Also today I have with me from our Ottawa office Danielle Laurier. She's our Manager of Government and External Relations. And for those who would like questions asked in French, Danielle is more than willing to accommodate. But I'd like to start off with is a map of the world. And a lot of people do not realize this, but 33% of the world lack electricity. I mean, we take, in Canada and North America, we take it for granted. You know, the lights are always on, but you think with electricity, it is the key to the economic development for around the world. And looking at this map, there's a lot of dark spaces, especially in such countries as, say, down here is Australia. You see just a bit of lights at the outer edge. You find that surprising how prosperous Australia is. Or even, you know, North America, the Midwest. I mean, that is due to a lot of the farmland and so forth, but electricity is not hit everywhere. Who uses electricity? As you can see here, industrial 38, residential 28, and commercial 34. But when I'm talking to my students in the high schools and public schools, I ask them a big key question. Every time on the radio, everything on TV, what do we always hear? It's always us, the consumers. We have to conserve, conserve, conserve. But looking at this, we're all even. Usage is all the same. So I go back to them, tell them, talk to your schools, talk to your principals, talk to your parents about their workplaces. Why are always the lights are always left on 24 hours a day and there's no one in the office building or in the factory? Sometimes people are working, yes, and for security reasons you have to leave lights on. But leave some lights on or put them on a timer. We have to, all of us, whether it's industrial, residential, or commercial, we have to conserve. Electricity sources in Ontario. Right now, 55% is nuclear. Hydro is 25. Coal is down to 6. Oil and gas is 10. And other renewables, wind, solar, geothermal are 2.4. The big thing with Ontario right now is 2 years ago, coal was at 16%. It's down to 6 now, almost 7. But that has to be, within the next 4 to 5 years, down to 0. They're shutting down all the coal-fired plants in Ontario because of the CO2 emissions and their waste. So we have to find alternative methods. Unfortunately, in Ontario, hydro is maxed out. Besides the dam, the tunnel being built in Niagara Falls, there is not another body of water or dam that we're able to build to increase the hydro. Oil and gas, they're planning a couple new plants in Ontario, as well as nuclear. The minister announced that be 2 more reactors built, hopefully soon, at the Darlington location. In Canada, a little different picture. Hydro, 63%, coal 17%, nuclear almost 15%, oil and gas 4%, renewables less than 1%. Big reason for hydro, British Columbia and Quebec. Huge opportunities for hydro in both those provinces, and still a lot more opportunities there. Around the world, hydro and other renewables 17.6%, nuclear almost 14%, gas 20%, oil 5.6%, coal 41%. And that is dropping. Now the biggest coal producing country, China right now. If you look at, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, the Beijing Olympics, their biggest issue, and still today, is the smog and the pollution created by the coal-fired plants there. And that's why over the next 15 to 20 years, they're looking at building upwards of 20 to 25 nuclear reactors in China. Atomic Energy of Canada, we were established in 1952. We employ close to 5,000 people, and we produce about $500 million in annual revenues from our commercial operations. Our business is basically reactor sales and service, reactor maintenance, nuclear safety and performance products, research and development, which is mainly done at our Chalk River Labs near Pembroke, about 2 hours away, and environmental management. In Canada, we have reactors, CANDU reactors in Pickering, Bruce, Darlington, just outside of Kincardine at the NDP, Gentilly 2 in Quebec, and La Pro in New Brunswick. Around the world, Korea, Kinshan, China, Pakistan, India, Romania, and Argentina. The one thing in China, which is one of our most successful new builds, was at the start of this, as you can see here, originally, that's where the land ended. This whole structure here is all man-made. Considering a reactor site has to be earthquake-proof, tidal wave-proof, anything Mother Nature can throw at it, as well as unforeseen post-9/11 terrorist acts, this structure has to meet all the safety requirements. So being man-made is quite an accomplishment. For CANDU, I just want to briefly go through, give you a basic understanding of how a reactor works, how we make electricity. As you can see here, we have 2 plants, one nuclear and one fossil fuel burning or coal plant. The interesting thing about that is 50% of the plant is similar in nature. We have the steam generators from the heat producing the steam, which in turn produces electricity. And as you can see here, with this gentleman walking by one of the steam turbines, they're quite large. Now, from a reactor site, the key to the reactor is called what we call a calandria. And as you can see here, from a gentleman underneath and a gentleman sitting on top of it, it is quite large. So you have the calandria, which where the fuel goes in, and there's a calandria tube there. We have the fuel channel, and then the fuel bundle. And the fuel bundle is the key to producing electricity and producing the heat. And what I will do is pass one around. This is a fuel bundle. This is it, an empty fuel bundle. About, if it was full, about 23 kilos worth of fuel. In your kits, I've also included the fuel pellets. That's the natural uranium fuel pellets. Now they are demonstrated, they're just a piece of dowel. That's the exact size of the fuel pellets. Now, mind you, if this was real uranium, be no concern. We use natural uranium. It's not, it has been enriched, It is slightly, yes, radioactive, but nothing harmful. It'd just be too expensive to hand it out to everyone. You want to take a look at that? Now, nuclear fission. Very simple process. We have a slow neutron coming in contact with the fuel pellet, uranium-235, which it splits, producing heat, producing fast neutrons. Now, a key for nuclear fission and for a nuclear power plant is we need a chain reaction. We need to keep repeating this process. So what happens is we run it through what we call heavy water. Heavy water looks, tastes exactly the same as normal tap water. Just has an additional neutron, it's D2O, and it is a little more dense or heavier. And that's why it's called heavier water. So in turn, the fast neutrons go through the heavy water, producing slow neutrons, thus getting a chain reaction. We can continue this process. And as you can see here, inside the calandria tubes, we have the fuel bundles, and we have the chain reaction going, producing heat. Now we control this using what we call control rods. So we can speed up the process or slow down the process depending on how much electricity we want to produce. Now, one of those fuel bundles will provide enough electricity for 100 homes for 1 year. One fuel bundle is equivalent to 400 tons of coal, 60,000 gallons of oil, or 10 million cubic feet of natural gas. And as I mentioned, in China, one of our most successful plants built to date, we are right now in the midst of loading one of the Qinshan reactors with spent fuel from a light water reactor. So in other words, we're reducing the waste spent fuel, which are the spent fuel. What I'm talking about is the fuel bundles here, into our reactor, producing more electricity, thus reducing approximately about 2,500 to 3,000 fuel bundles being manufactured a year, thus reducing the storage and the disposal of the spent fuel. And as you can see here, at every site, whether it's a CANDU site or a REVA site for a light water reactor, we are required by law and by, here in Canada, the Canadian Nuclear Safety Commission, and other agencies throughout the world, all these spent fuel, there has to be sufficient space for a reactor which has a 60-year life to store the fuel, or the spent fuel or the waste, on site for 60 years. So initially, once the fuel bundle, which lasts in reactor for approximately 18 months, will go into what we call the swimming pool. This is a big, large pool where they pool for approximately 8 to 10 years. And then once they've cooled enough, they will go into temporary dry storage. And the reason why I call it temporary is because we're still in R&D. We want to be able to get those back out if we're able to reuse them. We're still looking at that, being able to use our fuel bundles.